series of questions that we want to review and do little comments about. I think these are questions from prospects or clients about the pardon process, and so we want to answer some of these questions. Question 1 is range versus Attorney General. Range is a nonviolent misdemeanor 1. He won back his Second Amendment rights in the 3rd District. Does that mean I, a nonviolent M1, can have my Second Amendment rights restored? Answer, don't know. I did look up range versus the Attorney General, and it is a decision that basically in December 26 of 2024 said it's remanded for further action. And so this is February 2025. Range was a decision that was remanded for further actions at the lower court level. More importantly, I don't think it helps, because this is a question about a federal case that says nonviolent misdemeanor convicts should be able to get their gun rights restored. I want to know, how are you going to get them restored? Range says you're going to get them restored by what? Bringing a suit at the Court of Common Pleas in Pennsylvania? I don't know. I do know that if my clients go to a gun store or a sheriff's office to try to get a carry permit, and if they answer the questions truthfully, and if they have a conviction on the Pennsylvania State Police criminal history, they're going to get denied. So they're going to get denied, and then they're going to say, well, but range versus Attorney General says that you shouldn't be denying me, but you're still going to be denied, and then you're going to have to appeal something, and all that stuff seems incredibly complicated. I don't advise people about firearm charges or rights, except to say that when you get a pardon from the governor, if the pardon is regarding a disqualifying misdemeanor or felony conviction, then your rights are restored as if they were never taken away. So what a pardon does is remove the disqualifying conviction. It doesn't argue about whether or not Pennsylvania law should be contra to a federal decision saying that nonviolent misdemeanors shouldn't have their gun rights taken away. They're two completely different things. The firearms law firms like to talk about range versus the Attorney General. I talk about how to clear criminal records through the use of pardons and expungements. A lot of interest in that area, but that's just a quick takeaway. Next question, number 2. Hello, I've been listening to the pardon sessions, and a person stated that a pardon would help him progress his career. He made it up to the level of IT director, and the board questioned it. If someone has worked hard to obtain education and climbed the corporate ladder with hard work, is that a moot point with the board? Having a misdemeanor on your record does making a job difficult. What's the best response? The best response to the board is always to just answer simply, directly, and accurately. While the board asks questions, in this case, maybe questioning how he made it to the level of an IT director, they love it when you further your education. They love it when you further your credentials. They love it when you maintain steady employment and do the best that you can make it. So I think I would just be careful, because the board might drill down in a specific case about this, that, and the other thing. It doesn't mean the guy's not getting a fair hearing, and I think you should do as much to promote your personal career as possible, and I think the board likes that. Another question I got, number 3, is 10 years this March. No trouble prior, no trouble after. 0 means not even traffic related, just very bad representation. If you take my case, is it guaranteed to remove, expunge as if it never happened? So that's a question that's not unlike a lot of questions I get, but there's a lot of details missing. All I know is 10 years this March. Is it a felony? Is it a misdemeanor? Is it an aggravated assault? Is it a drug charge? Is it a sexy charge? Is it a porno charge? All these things matter. 10 years is a long amount of time for a nonviolent misdemeanor or felony to go past, and the fact that there's been no other trouble since then is very, very good. The fact that you got bad representation doesn't matter, because at some point you entered a plea to a conviction of some sort. And so you have to throw your hat in the ring to get the relief that you want. If I take your case, is it guaranteed to remove, expunge as if it never happened? So the pardon, if you get a pardon from the governor, is guaranteed to clear your record as if it never happened. If I take your case, you're going to have the best application prepared that you can have prepared to get you in front of the Board of Pardons, but the actual legal process isn't guaranteed to get the result you want because it's up to the votes of 6 people, 5 board members and 1 governor. Okay, and that's going to take place over the course of 3 to 4 years. That's what the process is currently running. Number 4, how old are those cases that usually get pardoned? Is 5 years too short for a pardon, even with tons of letters of support from bigwigs? Do you think they'll even consider that? I'm in such a rush because this is messing with my citizenship. So, there is no average age of the cases that are getting pardoned. They run from 10 to 35 years. And the board doesn't always tell us what the year is of the offense that they're reviewing. And the public records don't let us necessarily know what it is a person is asking for forgiveness for. So sometimes you can make it out from the questions, sometimes you can't. But the answer to how old are those cases, you just need to listen to each case and see if you can figure it out. Is 5 years too short for a pardon? Of a misdemeanor, of a nonviolent misdemeanor, of a pot charge, or of an aggravated assault, or a burglary, or a robbery, or a carjacking? Too little information here. If you have letters of support from bigwigs, that's good. They will consider that, but it isn't like you're going to get slid under the rug or somehow it's going to happen without going through the normal process. I think this question is somebody that just needs to fill out a form on recorderacer.net, let us look up the record, book a personal consultation with you, and tell you what we think as we get more into the details. Because this question is sort of like saying, my leg hurts, can you treat it? And actually, we need to get an x-ray to see if it's a break or a bruise or a tendon or what. And there's absolutely no details in here, so we need to know more. Number 5, I'm 51 and still don't have a license. I now live in Oregon, and it's imperative to have a driver's license. Who or what can I do to rectify the sanctions that were imposed on me? Who do I contact, and where in Pennsylvania do I turn to? Well, we received that question enough on probably either our YouTube channel or a question at recorderacer.net. I don't know that I've researched their record. I don't know if I know what took their license away. And so I can't advise them because, again, we need to know the details. Go to recorderacer.net, fill out the form, let us get your record, and then stay in touch with us so that we can actually get into the weeds a little bit more and keep digging up an x-ray to give you more detail. I can also tell you that we have a friend, a firm, a partner named License Restoration Services, which is run by a colleague of mine named Vince DeAngelis. And Vince is my go-to person for anything regarding PennDOT and Pennsylvania driver licensing questions or issues. But it's always going to come back to the question of, why was your license taken away? What were the charges? What were the convictions? One of the first things you can do to help yourself is write to PennDOT and ask for a restoration letter. That will tell you what PennDOT thinks you need to do to get your driving privileges back. And that's a good first step to take. So I understand you're saying it's imperative to have a driver's license, exclamation point. Let's move ASAP. Well, you write off to PennDOT, get a restoration letter, and if you want to forward it to me or Vince, I'll be glad to take a look at it. For someone who has a Tier 2 sex offender, how long would you recommend before applying for a pardon? Also, what can that individual do to make his chances better at receiving one? Is there any kind of volunteer work that looks better in the eyes of the governor as well as the board? Recommending the governor make a decision. Oh, that was another question from the board. Attorney General Sunday frequently asked, how have you been spending your time in the community? Have you done anything to give back to the community? And so that's a question to get ready for. This specific question is difficult because sex offenders are one of the cases that have to, I mean, there's an immediately a yellow flag. It still depends on the facts of the case and what happened, but a sex offender is going to get a very close review. I think a sex offense should be at least 10, 15 years old. I think the more years that go by, the better without any law enforcement. I think if somebody is a registered sex offender, the board's definitely going to consider the fact that if they give you a pardon, your registration requirements are probably gone. And so there's nothing that says you can't apply, but I think you probably start off with the odds against you to a certain extent. And so the more time that goes by, the better. I think it would help to have a sex offender evaluation or something where you could have a neutral, independent professional say that you have no uh, abnormal urges or conditions, or that you're on medication. It's really a tough case. It requires an individual review, and so that's the kind of case that we would plan for very carefully. Um, here's question number 8. Are all offenses automatically expunged when they're pardoned by the governor, or are there still offenses that need an expungement hearing at the common pleas level? And so the answer to that is the pardon will technically get the state police to erase any convictions that were included on the pardon application. That should happen automatically. That automatic expungement will not erase charges that were withdrawn, dismissed, or null prossed that were not included on the pardon application. So technically, all of your disabilities could go away, all of your convictions could go away, but you could still end up with a state police record and possibly a UJS public record that would show all the charges that you weren't convicted of, which is why we just recommend filing an expungement on the whole thing. And we take the charges that you weren't convicted of, we put them on the expungement petition with what was pardoned by the governor, and we get that filed. And then when it's expunged, you get an affidavit of expungement from the state police, and you know that that entire criminal record is completely gone. I have a nonviolent drug offense, number 9. There was one offense I was given 3 felonies for. Is there a chance that I could have that erased? Also, there's one separate offense, which was a simple assault. I got ARD, and it would have been stricken from my record, but the drug offense happened during the ARD period. So the ARD offense would have been expungible if it had stayed in ARD. But when the new offense happened that led to the conviction, that's the part of the first part of the question, that knocked the simple assault out of ARD. So the simple assault needs to go on a pardon application because it wasn't successfully completed with ARD. And the drug offenses, the 3 felonies would go on one drug offense. Can you have it erased? You can have it erased when it's been pardoned by the governor based on your explanation for the event, how and when it happened, what you've done with your life since then, and how long it's been. So that's the same evaluation for a nonviolent drug offense or somebody that gets kicked out of ARD. Number 10, completely from the Board of Pardon questions. When they say you're free to go, what does that mean? That means you can leave the meeting room that you're in and they would kick you out shortly anyway. It means the only thing remaining is to vote at the end of the day to see if you got at least 3 out of the 5 votes in your favor. You would have to stay online for that and watch it when the votes come back. We always do that. But free to go for you means you're free to go. And I think we got a question about an out-of-state question regarding Georgia or Florida convictions. And right now, recorderaser.net, also known as Pennsylvania Pardon and Expungement Service, provides services exclusively to people with Pennsylvania felony, misdemeanor, and summary convictions. I don't have any connections in other states. I don't dabble in their laws. We are focused like a laser beam on pardons and expungements in Pennsylvania. So thank you very much for sticking with us during the 3-day pardon public sessions and all these videos that Anna's doing. Now it's the 21st at about 10 of 5. Everybody go have a great weekend and get on with 2025.